Distract, deny, divert, and deceive. That is Donald Trump's playbook on Iran, and this time it is not going to work for a whole bunch of reasons. But in this breaking story, I'm going to share with you the number one reason why it is not going to work. You have got to see this. Welcome back into Occupy Democrats. And in this breaking story, Trump just continues to dig a deeper and deeper hole when it comes to Iran. Because if you don't recall, remember when he said this in November?
That in an instant completely obliterated Iran's nuclear capability.
Well, if obliterated was the word of the day, then why did Nancy Mace just say this yesterday?
Well, I believe he made a good argument yesterday and on Saturday when he delivered his speech to the United States. What most of America does not know are the classified briefings many of us have had on the House Armed Services Committee and Intel Committee. And you don't realize just how close Iran was to getting a nuclear weapon.
And of course, Trump's drunken sailor, Pete Hegseth, over at the Department of War, is all in.
We're going to execute at his command the objectives we've set out to achieve.
But an actual real journalist, Jonathan Karl from ABC, tells us the truth.
John, you know, President promised to keep the United States out of foreign wars, but at this point, no modern president has ordered more military strikes against more countries than Donald Trump.
He sounded to me like a president who feels invincible. He told me, quote, "Nobody could have done this but me, and you know that." He suggested that the success in Venezuela made him less likely to accept concessions in Iran, but, quote, "we have become spoiled."
And Mr. Wannabe Peace Prize wants a war to distract from Epstein, but also let's remember what he laughed about and said with Zelensky in terms of elections during a war. This.
So you say during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, that's good. I wonder what the fake.
You like this idea? No.
You see, it went from nukes in November to regime change now. And the truth of the matter is, this is the reality of Donald Trump, as Jonathan Karl got the quote from him here. ABC News chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl got this quote out of President Trump. President Trump told me tonight the U.S. had identified possible candidates to take over Iran, but they were killed in the initial attack. Quoting Trump, "The attack was so successful it knocked out most of the candidates," Trump told me. "It's not going to be anybody that we were thinking of because they're all dead. Second or third place is dead." Except when you talk to an actual insider ambassador at Iran, this is the answer to regime change.
The President of the United States talk about regime change in Iran this morning in his recorded statements. What is your message to the President?
Well, I think this is mission impossible.
Yeah, impossible. And that answer is why this breaking story is so very important. Check out why regime change in Iran is absolutely impossible right here.
Trump's Iran strikes will not collapse regime as admin intended. Expert. Strikes on Iran will not topple the regime as Donald Trump's administration intends. An expert on the Middle East has warned. While the president may hope to see change in the region following a series of strikes over the weekend, which left over 500 people dead, the chances of wholly changing the Iranian regime remain slim, according to the analyst. Andreas Krieg, senior lecturer at the School of Security Studies at King's College London and fellow at the Institute of Middle Eastern Studies, warned there would be little in the way of change to the regime itself, as it is built unlike Western governments. Krieg, speaking to the Mirror U.S., said, "This is a network state. That's a decentralized, quite horizontally organized state. It's very different, or more hierarchical, authoritarian state that you'd see in the Arab world or in Venezuela, which is very top-heavy. Regime change is not going to happen by just taking out the leadership, because anyway, the country is run by the IRGC, and the IRGC is the network. It's a network of networks, ultimately, because not only do you have the IRGC, Quds Force, and all the companies affiliated, but you have the Besiege, which is kind of a domestic militia of more than 1 million people, and they're all regionally or locally organized within neighborhoods and villages and rural areas, as well as in cities. This is not something you're going to kill. A change in how power is delegated within the regime will make all the difference, according to Krieg, who believes the Iranian regime has more in common with a militia than a typical government. The Iranian regime has been set up, if you will, like an insurgency group. Krieg explained. Any analysis of an insurgency group and why insurgencies prevail and why it's so difficult militarily to stop them is because they're so decentralized and there is a lot of delegation to the local level. And the regime has set up a chain of command and command control that is very decentralized, very much organized from the bottom up rather than the top down. So even if you are going to degrade and you're going to kill the leadership, this is not going to lead to a collapse of the regime.
It's all BS, folks. Complete BS. The reality is, unless you were to literally obliterate the entire country, including probably the 85% of Iranians who actually don't support the regime, the truth of the matter is, you're going to say our intelligence community, Donald Trump's IC, doesn't understand from the FBI to the CIA exactly how Iran is set up? Of course they do. We have people who've been around for decades who know how Iran is set up from the bottom to the top, not the top to the bottom. But he wants to go put on a distraction, divert, and deceive show to try and pretend this is somehow about fear, imminent threat, etc. All BS. This is about oil, money, and distracting from Epstein. You guys like and share the video, and by all means this week, stay frosty.